Welcome back to Love, Life, and Legacy, the podcast, and to help you navigate these hypersexualized times. So, everybody, I'm looking at this room. It looks very strange. If you're watching the video, it looks like I'm in a prison cell. I'm not. I'm just in Korea. Not to say anything about Korea. It's just a small room in Korea. And I'm about to fly to Mongolia. But I had to capture this podcast before I left. I'm leaving right after this. I'm going to put my computer away and I'm hopping on a plane going to Mongolia. But I needed to get this out because the Hainan staff just had a retreat. And a part of that retreat was that we are really redefining our story, how we see ourselves, and hopefully help you to understand who we are. And one major shift was that we are actually we're the how people. We're the marriage prep people. And a lot of people think that we're the sex people or the porn people, when in fact, that's definitely what we help people with. But at the end of the day, we're marriage prep people. The people who come to us want the blessing. They want marriage. They want family, but they're scared. They don't know how to get there. That's the majority. Not everybody, but that's the lion's share of who comes to us. And so we just are saying it in clear words. We are the marriage prep people. And this episode is Benji and I unpacking what that means and our commitment to people who want to get married at the highest level and to create a foundation for an eternal, lasting marriage. And if you are married and you feel like that doesn't pertain to you, well, it does. Because we're also here for people who are blessed and who want to have a thriving, radiant blessing. But like I said, the lion's share of the people who reach out to us are those who are seeking after. So everybody, please strap in. This is a really cool episode because we're evolving as an organization and we want to catch you up. We're constantly pushing the boundaries of who we are and what we're capable of. And we're doing this because we really care about all of you. Sincerely. It sounds like I could just be a politician who's about to sell you my great idea, but that's not it. This is it. The entirety of what I'm trying to say is we're here for you and we want to be here for you at the highest possible level. So please tune in, strap on your Sunday shoes if it's Sunday, and enjoy the ride. Wow! Welcome back, our brother.
Welcome back.
Benji and I wasn't even used to my microphone. My microphone was sitting face down on my desk.
There you go.
Just a couple of pros, everybody. Welcome back. This is the first time we've recorded a podcast since many thousands of miles of travel from Benji and myself.
Yep.
We were all over. Benji came to Korea to speak to the Blue Dragons. We love all dragons of all colors, but the blue dragons this year are the chosen ones, right? Right? Just
Yep.
Let's be clear, people. Let's be clear.
Blue.
And we had some staff retreats at the Wolfenberger's house in Seattle shortly after that, and then I had a staff retreat with our folks down in Latin America and Brazil. Exciting stuff. And then now we're back. Such as time and space. How's your experience in the Blue Dragon tour, Bonch?
With the pilgrims, the Blue Dragon pilgrims.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of Blue Dragons from North America. There's like 400 something, 420 of them. And they are, they're our prime candidates for living a high noon life. A lot of them are actually in our programs, interestingly, in the Ascend program or in the core marriage prep program. And so I would say like half of them, like I already know from life and everything. And so it was special to be able to talk with them and ask them questions about like, what do you want with your life? What do you think about the blessing? And it became clear that there's this massive, massive drive and energy and vibe going on to get blessed next year. As of recording, 2025 is like the goal for people, right? And that kept coming up when I was asking people, like, what's on your mind? What are you focused on? They're like, I want to get blessed next year. And I asked them, like, okay, what do you need? Or are you going to do it? And they're like, well, I don't know how, And then it's like, well, I struggle with my sexual integrity. And it's like, oh, I don't make enough money. Or it's all these reasons, right? And so I was just like recognizing that there's so many I want to say like limiting beliefs and roadblocks that are keeping people from reaching that desire that they have that's really deep in them. And my realization is that high noon is actually the substantiated solution for that, because we're
Mm.
addressing the thing that's missing, which is like the liberation of the shadows and the shame. Mother keeps talking about no shadows. Father obviously talked about no shadows all the time. And then I was asking people, right? Like, what does that
Yeah.
mean? What are you guys talking about, no shadows? Because it's something that's easy to say and it's sexy and popular to say, no shadows, transparency. But then if
Mm.
you ask people what that means, people have very little clue about it. It's like, well, don't have secrets. Okay. Is that it? Is that the extent of having no shadows? And so I think that High Noon's providential significance in this time in history is to help actually liberate those points of shame and shadow that will free people up to go towards their goals, their North Star, to creating a family and getting blessed and all that. Yeah. So it was really just eye opening for me personally.
Yeah, I got, I don't know, uncomfortable, but it's, when you start hearing people saying the thing that you've been saying for a long time, because people
Mm.
are like, oh, yo, this, I love this idea of like no shadows. And I'm like, have you seen our website? Have you seen it? We've been the no shadows people forever.
So
Um,
innovative, revolutionary.
But it's cool. It's cool that people are, but like you said, yeah, there's a feeling sometimes when people get really excited with platitudes. Not that this is, but it could be. Depends on how deep people go. So
Mm.
a platitude is just like a generalized statement, and it's very much in the realm of politics of like, I really care about people, that everybody is happy, and then you find out that this person is just a scumbag who just steals money or starts wars or
Hmm.
whatever. Like, what? You're just saying words. So same
Right.
with, we always run the risk of saying words so many times that they lose their meaning unless
Hmm.
we form a relationship with those words. So to be really committed to no shadows is a life of, going towards shadows and scaring them away because you're such a bright person.
Mm.
And we just did that, right? It was funny because as a staff, I realized that our only superpower, and it is not a sexy superpower. Like if you would, typically if people like, what is your superpower? Oh, I'd like to be able to fly or become invisible or whatever. Our superpower in High Noon is merely the fact that we are good at leaning into our shadows and being like, okay, there's
Mm.
a problem. Let's talk about it.
Hmm.
That's why we're still together as an organization. That's why we haven't quit or killed each other, anything like that, is because if something happened, and we just did that. We just had our staff retreat last week, and some stuff came up, but then even more stuff came up after. And so we've just been prioritizing talking about it. And it's inconvenient sometimes because you got
Yeah.
stuff to do. But life isn't going to happen well unless you deal with this stuff. And so all of our goals, we might be able to just focus on doing the work of our goals, but if we have shadows between us, everything we build will fall apart eventually. Everything.
Yeah.
So we need to deal with the shadows. And so that's what I feel like True Mother's talking about, is like she really wants people to experience the value of the full value of the blessing. And that only happens if you experience the blessing without
Mm.
shame, without hatred, without resentment, without hating yourself, right? Self-loathing and all this stuff. It's like kind of makes sense. A lot of
And they're
sense.
they're very insidious and secretive, the shadows, because they don't formulate in obvious things, right? Sometimes they're so, over consuming that we don't even know they're shadows. Or sometimes they're hiding right beneath our feet. Like in the case of our retreat, where you literally point blank asked us, right? You're like, do you feel any incompletion or conflicts with anyone in the team? And everyone's like, yeah, great, right? And then just a week later, it's like all this stuff starts coming out. And because it's not deliberate, like we don't know that we have shadows. And I had this experience. I told you guys at the staff retreat. I had when I was watching some. I'm sharing this story because it's highlighting that I'm still working on this stuff myself. Right. I was watching some home videos with my kids on a little camcorder, a little tiny screen camcorder. And if you guys know what a camcorder is, I don't know how to explain it. It's a recording device that we used to
It's a
use to
video
record
camera.
video. It's
Yeah.
okay, video camera. Yeah, it's a video camera, handheld video camera. And so I was watching videos of me and Sammy, when we were kids. I was maybe 7, he was 9, and I was looking at the videos, and I was really fat. Sammy was too. Like we were chubsters. I think I was 100 pounds when I was 9 years old, which is not very healthy, right? My wife,
Wow.
for instance, is 100 pounds. Please don't tell anybody I said that. Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. But no shadows, right? So my wife's 100 pounds at 34 years old, and I was 100 pounds when I was like 9, 8 years old. So I was a big kid, and so I was watching these videos of myself, and I realized that I knew I was overweight, but I never talked about it. And the reason I never talked about it is because my parents never talked about it either, right? So I remember a few years after that, when I was like 11 years old, my mom said something like, "Oh, you're getting chubby." Like she kind of like poked fun at me or something like that. And that really like shook me and shocked me. And then I went on this crazy diet. I started breakdancing, and it was like the turning point for me to like start to lose weight. Uh, but it was obvious that I was overweight long before that. She made that comment, but nobody said anything until then, which indicated to me maybe subconsciously that this topic of weight is so like heavy. It's heavy and it's
Sure.
a burden, and it's weighted to the point where we can't talk about it. We have to like light candles and go out into the mountains or something, like go on a long drive to talk about this kind of thing. And so I kind of inherited this kind of shame, I think, from just the fact that it wasn't talked about in an open way, because it was kind of like a point of shame. And then I inherited that, and I carried that with me for such a long time. And when I watched this video on the camcorder, I was like, I didn't realize that, but I really had so much shame, and that translated uh, kind of seamlessly into shame around sexuality, because to the same degree, it was something that was never talked about because it's too kind of shadowy and shamey. And this is so relevant for pretty much every family on the planet,
Hmm.
except for like a few special snowflakes, right? But it's like I was kind of carrying this weight about it, which doesn't sound like a shadow, obviously. But if anytime we can't talk about something and we have to like set aside a dedicated time, and it's like it's so heavy that you can't talk about it, what that teaches children, especially, it teaches the family environment, is that this is so deep and so secretive that we can't talk about it in a normal family setting. We have to do it in a kind of a special spiritual ceremonial type of way. um, and so sexuality became something that I didn't want to talk about, bring about, because I learned that it was kind of a really deep point of secrecy and shame, and just heaviness, I would say, is the word. So that was recently, that realization that I had this like super shadow about health in general, and
A super shadow.
yeah,
Yeah.
fat shadow, big fat shadow.
It's a lot of times we don't really, we can identify that we are uncomfortable, but we don't know what that is. Can't put a name to it. And that's actually, I was talking to somebody yesterday about that in terms of their sexual integrity journey, because it's really all about discomfort. And that discomfort is something we typically want to run away from because it's uncomfortable, right? That's what it does, but it's trying to teach you something. And it's easy to not notice that you're uncomfortable because you're so used to avoiding discomfort, right? But in this case, like about your body, like how many people are really uncomfortable with their body? That's your body. You should be extremely comfortable in your body because that's
Mm.
your body. It's your thing that you get to live in during this lifetime. So you should be very comfortable in it, either accepting it for what it is, or if you feel like the need for improvement, that you take that seriously. But uh yeah, it shadows are quite interesting because sometimes they're glaring and we just don't know how to talk about them, but in many cases we don't even know that we have them because it hasn't been a priority to face our discomforts because we've created a lifestyle for ourselves that is all about surfing past them, avoiding them. Um and one cool thing about this, right? This episode is about we are the marriage people, right? Marriage prep people. And this is kind of a new revelation that I really want a t-shirt. If anybody's out there wants to do this, please do so. Make me a t-shirt. I'm a size, I don't know what size I am. It depends.
Yonash can do it
But
for us if he's
I
listening.
would love a
Make it.
t-shirt that says the how people. because
Mm.
that's a conversation that happens with BFDs or BFMs around the world. It's like, who are you people, you high noon people? What are you doing? Are you doing our work? Are you like, because a lot of people, they're not sure, are we friends or foe? I don't know, a lot of people. I would say a small amount of people, the
Hmm.
minority. But we also have to be just very clear on that, the fact that we're here to support the blessing, absolutely. um, and we're not trying to get in the way of people giving blessing workshops. In fact, we've been invited to many blessing workshops to explain about pornography and masturbation and these kind of things.
Mm.
So then we've taken the opportunity to define ourselves instead of being defined by circumstance or by other people. And Benji had a great framing for that, and that is that we are the marriage prep people. And another way of saying that is we're the how people. The what is the blessing, and that's, it should be explained through theology. It's a very deep, beautiful tradition that we have, and then we're just how to be prepared for that, like by building sexual integrity. And once you are blessed, how to keep that marriage fully optimized for love, for God, for satisfaction, right? That's what we're committed to. Where did that come from, Benji?
Yeah, well,
He's our
it,
marketing genius, by the way.
it's a rule that I have for marketing, and we're breaking into this. We're trying to crack the code on marketing in High Noon. But so the vast majority of our participants in our program are people that want to prepare for marriage. It's one of the most common reasons that somebody joins our sexual integrity training program, Ascend, is because they have a vision. I want to receive the blessing. I want to have a family, and I'm weighed down by the reality that my integrity is out of check. I don't want to watch porn and masturbate, but I do, and I don't know why. I'm so confused. And then they hear about High Noon, they're like, okay, this is a solution. And we have people that recover, heal, quit porn, get blessed, and it's beautiful. The High Noon couples, right? And then we have the core program, which is preparing for marriage. As of recording, we're just about to launch it tomorrow, actually, the new round of core. And this is a program that fills up like this. Last quarter, we sent out one email and it filled up like that, participant wise. And we're going to do the same this time. And so it's a clear indication that there is a massive, massive demand for not just, not like the nitty gritty, how to get matched, how to, you know, find somebody, how to do the website, how to qualifications, none of that. It's like how to, right, with the how to people, how to prepare excellently to be a marriageable person, which is sorely needed and missed in our world, right? And this is clearly recognized in our faith, right? The BFM in America, at least, we have a collaborative relationship with BFM in that we do provide education officially through the level 2 education currently. And so it's an ongoing thing for the last many years. We just noticed so many people come for marriage prep. And and then recently at this Blue Dragon thing, there was this massive push and excitement around the goal of having 1,000 single people blessed next year. Okay, so that's 1,000 couples blessed. And if you ask the room and the audience right before I got on stage, you know, Double D Damien got on stage and he talked about this goal, right? And it's very exciting. He's a rallier. He is a force of good, right? And then he was like, "Who wants to get blessed next year?" Everyone's like, "Yes, I would love to get blessed next year," understandably. And then he was preparing, for Karina and myself to give the talks, and so I got on stage, and I said, "Raise your hand if you're actually gonna get blessed next year," right? And I gave my presentation with the frame of some of you will hear this talk and you will say, "I'll try and we'll see." Some of you will say, "I want to get blessed," but you're not going to do anything about it. And so you're not going to move forward. And some of you will face your fears and your demons and your limitations and some limiting beliefs you might have and surpass them, and some of you will not. And some of you will actually do whatever it takes to actually substantiate your goal. And so I realized in giving the talk that like 3 people raised their hand when I said, "Who of you is actually going to get blessed next year?" Right? Raise your hand. And, because people are naturally kind of shy, they're like, me, like that. And everyone's looking at them, and laughing and stuff. It's, but it made it really clear to me that there is a desire that we have as a movement, that individuals have of a goal but there is something that's missing. It's the how. It's the substantiating the process to do it, not the matching process I'm talking about. We have a matching process already. That's established. That's been worked on for the last 2 decades, actually, matching process. It's the shadows we're talking about. It's literally, I have limitations in myself. And I asked the audience, I said, why can't you get blessed next year? And one sister said that she is too young. And I was like, how old are you? She's like 21. I was like, okay, why can't a 21-year-old get blessed? Like, sincerely, answer the question. Not a condescendingly, right? Like, why can't a 21-year-old get blessed? And the answer to that is probably something along like, oh, I'm too young. It's like, what does that mean? Who says you're too young? And I'm not saying you need to get blessed at 21. I'm just saying, like, think about it, figure it out. Another person said, I need to make more money, right? Need more financial stability. And I said, what does that mean? How much money do you need, right? X amount. Who told you that? Where did you learn that belief about money, that a certain amount of stability is needed in order to have a stable relationship and family? And so it's not about you should or shouldn't do anything. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, are you having the courage to look at your fear in the eyes and say, I'm moving forward regardless of this fear, and I'm going to overcome it. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to address the shadow. And I'm going to seek out shadow so that I can have a clear conscience and a clear canvas so that I can live a high life. And those are the people that are getting blessed. We actually know a lot of them. The high noon couples we're talking about, there's some of them that we don't know about because we don't go around publicizing like, this is a high noon couple, that's a high noon couple. We don't want to do that, right? But a lot of them are facilitators and have shared their own story, and it's beautiful. And so we've seen this enough to know with evidence and conviction that the high noon life we're talking about, practicing the 5 virtues, having a North Star vision for your life, is the fastest and actually easiest way to find someone and to stay in a relationship and create a healthy relationship. Because if you have 2 people that are able to practice those virtues, courage, honesty, grace, accountability, integrity, said them quickly. But if you have 2 people that can do those things and bring that into a relationship, you'll be unstoppable. That's it.
Hello! Have you ever wondered, could I join a program to help with marriage preparation that's free, that's international, that includes the principle and our true parents' teachings, and includes the element of sharing with other brothers and sisters my age, that we can grow together? Have you ever wondered that? Oh man, I'm wondering that too. Wait a minute, there is a program you can join. You can join the core program for singles. You have to sign up here on the link highnoon.org, and that will take you to the registration, which is limited, by the way, for the core program, which is run by the High Noon team. This program will hopefully show you how to prepare well for the blessing and to learn God's vision for marriage, sex, and intimacy. I hope to see many of you there. Take care.
Nothing else is like what else matters? You could throw any life situation in that at that couple and they'll get through it. Anything. Right? And so it's just, so we're framing the way that we're approaching our branding and our narrative at High Noon is like, we help people prepare for marriage, right? We also do a lot of other stuff like blessing care and stuff, but this is kind of like the big domino in our narrative that impacts everything else, not just in our movement, but also the world moving forward, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I was thinking about this. One of the first things when I woke up this morning,
Okay.
I still have, my body's not sure which continent I'm on or which time zone I'm in. So it just wakes up. Like today and yesterday, I woke up at like 4:45 naturally. That's grandpa style. But I was just awake and I was like, sorting through where am I, and then one of my first thoughts was just how people have thrown the idea of marriage under the bus because so many people have had a bad experience, and how crazy that is that we would blame marriage for being the problem, not like ourselves and our approach
Yeah.
to marriage. So same with the blessing is like, I've heard some tragic instances and there's definitely been some mistakes along the way. We're creating this thing. We're creating this new tradition that will hopefully last for thousands of years, right? Of course, it's not going to be perfect in the first iteration. I'm talking about the blessing, right?
Yeah.
But even since I got blessed 12 years ago and a bit. By the way, my wife and I both didn't know which year our last blessing was. Neither, thank God, neither one is hyper romantic in that sense. We were both like, this is, I was like, this is our 13th anniversary. And she's like, oh, cool. And then later we're like, wait, is our math right? And we both did the math, like, oh no, it's our 12th.
There you go.
But even since then, the mistakes that they were making back then were like, we were guinea pigs for our matching ceremony, you know?
Hmm.
They made so many laughable mistakes. But it's gotten so much better, and it's gonna get better and better and better and better. But what what has to change? What, like, they could make it as airtight as possible in terms of the blessing and matching process and all this. It requires people who are willing to be good candidates, to be the right candidates, to make this whole thing work. It's not the blessing's fault. And so that means being the kind of person who knows how to make a decision, right? That's one huge thing, because how do you choose the right person? So many people get stuck there. There's the analysis paralysis, and they don't know how to make a decision because they can't do it on a macro because they can't do it on a micro. They don't know how to make a decision day to day. What food do I eat? Do I get out of bed or do I stay? Like, that's a huge part of high noon training, is to becoming a decisive person because you know who you are and what you want, and you know how to get that, right? Second thing is that your commitments are, you can live up to your commitments. In the beginning, when people meet us, right, they think, oh, I just have a porn problem, so I just need to remove this thing and then I'll go back to life as normal. But little do they know that the porn is a symptom of a life that is in complete distress.
Mm.
And they don't
Hmm.
know, if even when they say I want to do something or I'm going to do something, they can't do it because they don't have the ability to live up to their own word, because they've sullied their own word by, not by dishonoring their word, by not doing what they say they're going to do. They say, I'm going to do this, I'm not. So if you go to the blessing like that, oh man, it's so stressful, because you're always worried about, is this going to work? Oh my God, it's the end of the world. We're having a fight. Are we going to last? But if you're a person who's made of solid structure, because your internal workings are that of high noon, you have the five virtues as your skeletal structure internally. Like,
Mm.
oh, I'm an honest person. Oh, I've got integrity. Like, I will fight tooth and claw to live up to my word. Then guess what? You're gonna be okay. This is
Mhm.
absolutely marriage prep. What are you talking
Mhm.
about? Like, this is,
Mm.
all these things are what, it's like your foundation to be able to build a giant palace of love in your life. Without that foundation, you're gonna be building something that you don't know what it is out of whatever you can find. That's most people's marriages, right? You're like, I'm going to build a house with what? Whatever I can find. I'll just go to the dump and I'll just get some rotting wood and some, I don't know, toothpicks, whatever I can find. I'll glue it all together, put it on some sketchy ground on the side of a cliff. Let's see how it goes, right? That's like every Hollywood marriage. But what we're talking about is marriage prep is, let's go back to the fundamentals. Let's start building yourself and your foundation as an individual, one promise at a time. Can you keep that promise? Right? Can you be honest with yourself? One kind of instance at a time, with God, with other people.
Yeah.
That is you building your foundation one shovel at a time. And if you build it right, you can build a massive structure on that. And that is your family, that is your wife or husband, and it's your kids. And it's not only that, it's like your future lineage. That's the tradition that
Mhm.
you set forth based on that foundation. So I think
Yeah.
it's a little bit more than just porn, getting rid of porn. When you look at it, right? But we
Yep.
also haven't been good at phrasing this. That's why the fact that we are the marriage prep people, that's our focus, is like, it's really, really helpful exercise for people to understand too what they're going through when they sign up for a high noon program.
Yep.
And like Benji said, that's not the only thing we are, but that's going to be our primary focus for the next while. We will still continue with helping people who are already blessed, and even parents and stuff like that. But our focus largely will be getting people ready to be marriageable, highly marriageable people, building that foundation. So Benji is right now scolding his children for infiltrating his room. So this is a cool development. Again, we've always known that we're a part of people's lives, and that
Yep.
most of the people, honestly, who are the most serious about getting rid of porn are those who kind of want to get married. They want somebody else in their life, and they're like, I don't know how to handle the pressures of inviting somebody into my life. So those are the most emphatic customers that we have, and by customers I mean non-paying customers.
Yeah.
Um, let's be
Nonprofit.
clear about that.
Nonprofit. Everything's paid customer. Yeah.
It's like it's easy to be like, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it. What is the later? When you're like, I'll do it later, that later is when you start to really seriously consider the matching. That is the later. And that becomes now. Like, oh
Mm.
crap, I gotta work on this now. And so people seem to be able to kick this working on themselves, marriage prep, until through their teens most. I'm okay, I'll figure it out later. But then when they get into their 20s, mid 20s especially, it's like you start to feel the burn of who you are a little bit more. And so that's our primary demographic. And it's always been that kind of young adults.
Hmm.
But it was in the past just those who were crazy enough to associate themselves with an organization that focuses on porn. But now it's actually just anybody who's like a healthy who understands that health is requires some preparation, and this is the how to do that, right?
Yeah.
I was kind of laughing about that before. Like, we were the porn people, and anybody who even talked to us at an event were guilty by association, right? So some people I would see that would kind of wave from a distance but not come close, because if they were in a close proximity, like, people will think I'm a freak. But now the word is out, and there's a lot of women. These women, Benji, right? They're like, I want to get blessed. Who do you got? Like, who's in your world? Like, they come to our workshops
Hmm.
because they know that the people at our workshops are the ones who are serious about themselves and serious about building that foundation. So
Yeah.
before it was like, you have a disease because you're associated to us, and now it's like, oh, you're a future minded person, that's why you're associated with us.
Yeah.
That's banging.
Yeah. I wanted to make a comment on the fact that I just threw a teddy bear at my kids. They came in the room. Usually, if I'm in a meeting, I'll just kind of try to just be like, hey, come and say hi or something. Uh, but in this instance, they were coming in like blazing hot, excited to play with Legos because there's Legos in this room that I'm having this meeting. And then I was like, all right, no, you got to get out of here. But I
But
wanted
Benji's
to,
a pro
yeah,
because he muted himself. I could still see his mouth very clearly say, "Get out!
with a
Get
large,
out!"
emphatic, profane language. Uh, I Yeah, it's a common question people in matching marriage preparation have, which is what do you look for? Because if you follow anyone's general advice, like what do you look for? Did your kids just come into Andrew?
No, they were just yelling at the other side. This is a crazy time to record
Yeah.
a podcast.
Yeah, no, it's I don't want to give people the impression that we're always like kicking our kids out. We're in a podcast. Like this is a little different. We're gonna have thousands
Time
of
to be
people listening to
pros
this,
here.
you
Well,
know.
so my kids are just playing a game that involves spazzing out and yelling and having a great time doing voices, but it's on the exact other side of this door. So I'm like,
Yeah.
you're gonna be freaks. Can you just be freaks somewhere else?
Yeah. Uh, so I was saying that people are eternally confused because they're like, well, who do you listen to? What to look for in a spouse? Financial, attraction. Should I be attracted? Should you live in this country? Should you speak the same language? Should you drink soy milk or whole milk? Or like it's endless. And then in our faith, it's like, okay, you have to have opposite facial structures. You have to have opposite dominant thumbs when you do the thumb crossing thing. All these reasons. But what we're doing in High Noon is we're trying to focus on the thing that really does matter. Actually, the primary thing that matters, and then everything else around that becomes optional. Like, okay, if you want to find someone that has the opposite dominant thumb of you or whatever, that's your prerogative. But if you ignore the core of the universe, the core that we're talking about, then you're in trouble. And when you talk about core, you mentioned the magic word of the day for me is God's love, right? And I believe that the five virtues are actually a blueprint to experience God's love in even a single conversation. You can practice all of those. And we talk about them like it's a lifestyle, and it is a lifestyle, and we have to develop the muscles of all of them. But you can practice them by just deciding to be courageous, and be honest in a conversation, which will usually lead, if it's with the right person, it will lead to receiving grace, right, for our shadows or mistakes or whatever we're holding on to, and then them keeping us accountable to have integrity. And some of the most transformative experiences I've had in my life with my parents or with Hitoe have been such that I practiced those exact virtues and experienced an immense amount of God's love through which transformed my life, because it allowed me to liberate those shadows and to be like a clean canvas and a clear conscience. And especially in my relationship with porn, right, masturbation, it was when I was honest about those things, even though it was really hard and I felt like it was too heavy and too dark and I couldn't talk about it. And then to receive nothing but like, yeah, okay, like you're still loved. And it's like those moments are the reference points that you never forget. And it's actually, for some people, that's the impetus for change. And it was for me. That will change your life. And so we talk about the 5 virtues like they're character traits that you learn in elementary school character education class, right? But they're really a blueprint for practically how to experience God substantially, not just in a esoteric, hypothetical way. But when you say how to people, Andrew, I think substantiation. Not that we're better than everyone at doing it. It's that we need each other. That's how I felt at the Blue
And that we
Dragon.
prioritize it. Nobody else
Yeah.
prioritizes this. That's our number one priority, is
Yeah.
embodiment of the high noon virtues. That's what makes us leaders, is like we do this as a full-time job. We have no ability to do anything unless we do embody this. Otherwise, everything
Mm.
falls apart. Like if we're not honest and we fudge the numbers or facts or whatever, then everything slowly falls apart, or sometimes quickly. Any of these virtues, pick one. If we're not doing this with people on the regular, and we don't have a perfect track record, by the way, but when we make mistakes, we talk about it and we learn from it, and we, ideally, right? But definitely, there's times when it's really hard for me to give grace to people, but I work on it, right? So because everything falls apart if I don't, in my family, in my life, and in my work life. And so that's the main difference, is that, for us it's non-optional. It's not like if we have time, we'll try to have integrity. It's like we don't have integrity, we don't have anything as an organization. So that's kind of what we're giving to people, is again, our superpower is that we chase out shadows. We're the shadows busters. This is another,
Mm.
anybody out there, this is a second t-shirt I really want. It's kind of like the Ghostbusters, but a shadow. And I tried to do this on, you know, Mid Journey and different kind of text to image platforms. They don't understand what you mean by shadow. So if you're an illustrator and you can do like shadow busters, Lord help me, please get me that t-shirt. I'll wear that hat. I'll wear that hat every day with shadow busters. Um, yeah. So in terms of marriage prep, this is a bit of a pivot in terms of like how we show up and the story that we are telling about ourselves as High Noon, and the story that we're hoping that people understand us is that we want you to understand how valuable this work is for your blessing, for your marriage, and that it's not just about sex. Because I worry about that. Honestly, sometimes if we're just always talking about sex and always just talking about porn and the bad stuff and even the good stuff like heavenly sexuality, people might miss the point that their entire lives do get impacted positively or negatively based on their relationship with sex.
Mm.
And I think sometimes people might understand that broadly, but they don't see how intimately it impacts every single thing, like including their sleep, including their food, like their diet, how they think about themselves. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. Those, when you think like that, that's when you go to Taco Bell. Let's start picking on Taco Bell, because I know I got in trouble for it. But you just start eating junk food because, like, what does it matter? It's not when you're like, yo, I don't know, I just got really good news. I want to go do something self-destructive. It's like when you don't value yourself. And so in order to feel the highest value and in order to feel God's love for you, you need to create a receptacle for that to happen. And that's a life of meaning and radiance. So That's what we're here for, everybody. And again, if you are blessed, then we're here to fight tooth and claw to help you not only stay married. That's not so inspiring. We will help you survive life and marriage. That's just, hand to mouth. We want something much greater than that. We want radiance. We want to have it all. And that sounds greedy and selfish, but that's what Heavenly Parent wants for us, is to have the universe and beyond. That's why the universe wasn't created static and being like, this is my gift to you. It's like created infinitely. The universe is substantially growing. I don't know by the second, but it's always growing and expanding outward because there's no limit to what God wants for us. But we can barely even. I was talking to somebody the other day. He really doesn't believe that deserves anything. These whispers. I don't deserve the blessing. I don't deserve love. I don't deserve to live, right? These will get you. These are shadows. These are whispering
Yep.
in your ear. To chase them out is to be so sure of who you are, that God loves you and that you feel it deep within you. There's no place for shadows in somebody like that. But the only way you can feel that is by going through a process. And the process we have is through community. My formula, Benji, what is my math formula? Do you know my math formula?
Is it 1 + 1 = 3?
Well,
That one?
yeah, that's one of them. No, that's just there's like a little pod in a greater circle. The bigger formula for what I believe we do as a high noon is help you to formulate and create a clear vision for yourself, plus practice the 5 virtues in community equals everything that you want. So the result is also a lot of people doing that together equals high noon culture, which is Chanoguk. It is like you can put the equals Chanoguk. You could make happy person, healthy person, connected person, radiant person, but it could also be at scale, heaven on earth, right? Is like when you have a clear vision for who you are and you have a community who holds you to the 5 virtues and you just keep at it, things just start making sense. So that's our process, everybody. So please come on board. And most of you who are listening to this are not yet married and you're really curious about what that might look like. Some of you might be terrified, but it all makes sense only in community. That's the crazy part about sex, is even understanding it, you can't do it alone. Sex is never meant to be understood or experienced by yourself. It's a communal experience in that don't get me don't twist my words. In healthy tribes and societies, sex is not just between couples. There's this African tribe where they have a word for it. It's called happy sounds in the night or something like that, and it's like the rest of the tribe celebrates the fact that couple's celebrating their couple, they're in love, and like there's no shame or any weirdness. It's like they're doing their thing and let's all rejoice. And so a healthy couple is a blessing to their neighborhood, so it really impacts everybody. But anyway, I think we're nerding out here. We want you to know that there's a place for you, regardless of where you're at. But um we have gotten to a point in our organization where we realize that right now we're restructuring our foundation to be able to scale to the moon. Really, we want a lot of people, but we want serious people. And if you're serious about wanting the blessing, all the blessing, not just like the ceremony and a hope and a wish, but like you want to experience everything that like lore has talked about in terms of love and romance and brightness and helping the earth and all this stuff. If you want all that, we got you. Come stick around, put in the work. We'll get you there.
Yeah. highnoon.org. If you want to envision your blessing and practice the 5 virtues in community, Core is the program for you, single prep. If you need to clean house with your sexual integrity, Ascend is the program for you, also at highnoon.org.
We just had a staff retreat and we just got very serious about the fact that your success really depends on us functioning really well as a team and us getting really serious about creating the infrastructure for you to know that if you're serious, all this stuff is just waiting for you and we will get you there. We will give you the mentorship. We'll give you the support and the community. You just have to provide the willingness to change and the desire to strive for radiance. If you do, if that's resonating in your heart, like, I really want this, I really want the blessing, or if you are blessed, I really want to experience what these things sound like no shadows in my marriage, like really being united with my spouse at the highest level and experiencing God when we make love and all that. Yeah, we got stuff for you. We'll help you. But we cannot provide that desire and willingness that comes from you. The rest will co-create together with you. So I hope that's you, and I hope we can work together with you for a long time to see you experience all that God has in store for you. So thank you for listening, you all fine folks, and see you next week.
Adieu.
Bye.
Hey, did you know that our team wants to do more events? Well, if you want to bring the High Noon message to your community or group, then let us know and we'll try to work something out. There's a simple application that you can fill out right now at highnoon.org/invite. And one of our team members will get back to you to see what's possible. That's highnoon.org/invite. All right, see you in the next episode.